My colleague Andrew Clennell reporting earlier that Peter Dutton would be invited to attend the Jobs Summit next month here in Parliament House, but apparently he won't. Why won't the coalition try and be constructive?
This is nothing more and nothing less than a talk fest by the Albanese government. Look at their actions within weeks of being elected. They're already moving and have moved to abolish the Australian Building and Construction Commission. Who did they consult with? The CFMMEU, the AWU and the ACTU, but not with industry and certainly not with employers. Yesterday's announcement by Tony Burke in relation to enterprise agreements and abolishing the unilateral termination. Well, guess what, Tony? Employers can't unilaterally terminate. It is only the Fair Work Commission that can make those decisions. So what you see is action after decision. It is all the union's playbook, nothing more and nothing less.
But you mentioned the construction watchdog, but obviously workplace relations is much bigger than that one sector. Why not engage? Why not at least be at the table?
Well, we do engage. We engage every single day with employers.
But you're rejecting the invite.
With employers. Why? Because governments don't create jobs, employers do. Governments put in place frameworks, policy frameworks, that employers can lever off to prosper, grow and create more jobs. Or everything that we have seen to date from the Albanese government is literally implementing the policy wants and needs primarily of the CFMMEU and then after that, the ACTU. This is just nothing more and nothing less than a PR talk fest.
Should aged care workers get a pay rise?
Of course they should. And the former coalition government had always maintained that. We obviously, though, respect the independence of the Fair Work Commission. You don't want government setting wages in this country. That is why the Independent Fair Work Commission analyses all of the evidence across the board from all parties and then they make what they consider to be an appropriate determination.
But governments can make submissions encouraging a significant
governments
pay rise.
would normally provide, in terms of, say, the minimum wage review that happens every year, the role of the government is to provide all of the up-to-date economic information for the Commission. That's the role of government, and certainly in this case, our position always was they do deserve to be remunerated properly, but ultimately it is a decision for the Independent Fair Work Commission.
Was the government right to make this submission, which they've submitted this week, calling for a significant pay rise?
Well, again, it's the role of the Fair Work Commission to undertake all of that analysis. But when I look back at what we did in government, we called the Royal Commission because we understood the system absolutely needed to be improved. We put around $19 billion extra into the system. We obviously remunerated aged care workers throughout COVID-19. It is now appropriate for the Fair Work Commission to undertake this analysis and then provide its decision.
Jane Hume yesterday asked, will they make a difference to productivity in terms of any potential pay rise? Is that really the question that should be asked, though, when it comes to aged care workers?
So what you need to ensure, and this is where the government does need to be careful, that you actually don't price aged care out of the market. And a lot of people are currently saying, well, hey, hold on, who's actually going to pay for the additional pay rise? Is it the government? And if so, why? Because ultimately that's the taxpayer. Or alternatively, is it the providers? Do the providers then have to actually compromise the types of services they're going to give, the number of people they employ? And this is why ultimately it is the Fair Work Commission analyses all of the evidence and comes up with the decision, which we support.
You touched on the termination of unilaterally by employers of some agreements. Now, the Minister yesterday raised this issue of Svitzer, the port dispute, wanting to cut tugboat operators' pay by 40% by scrapping their EBA.
Absolutely.
Is that not true?
It is not true. Now, let's be very clear. Tony Burke knows an employer cannot unilaterally terminate an agreement. The Fair Work Act, Labor's Fair Work Act, does not allow that. An employer, an employee or an employee organisation can apply to the Fair Work Commission after the nominal expiry date. This agreement expired almost 2.5 years ago. And it is the Fair Work Commission's role to actually go out and talk to parties and then make a decision. So Tony Burke, yet again misleading the public. Svitzer have said
they've
they
argued
will not
that this is
cut.
a bargaining tactic by the employer to try and delay any deal. Is that not right?
Absolutely not. I'd say the exact opposite. A bargaining tactic by the union because they know that Labor are going to make changes. Let's just have a look at what these employees currently get. No maintenance can take place after 5 p.m. You've got to be kidding me. How does that work in the ports today? 100% loading for casuals. If you are working overtime, you can get paid between 2 and 4 days of overtime for as little as 2 hours work. Around $210,000 a year, many work for 186 days. So when you look at what these employees currently get, the fact that there have been over 50 meetings between the employer and the unions, there's only one person holding this up quite deliberately, and it's the unions.
While the Fair Work Commission makes its judgment on any application to scrap an agreement, do workers in the meantime fall back to the award?
No, at this point in time, they will stay. But you've got to be very clear here. Despite what Tony Burke said, Svitzer have said they are not actually reducing their pay and conditions. That is one of the guarantees that Svitzer has given. So again, Tony Burke is misleading the Australian people. But the other question that Tony Burke needs to answer is, in the event that they did fall back to the award, which will not happen, this is Labor's award. This is Labor's safety net. Are they suddenly not happy with the rules they put in place when they were last in government?
I think they've conceded that the whole system needs to be reworked. That's why they're having the Job Summit.
But what Labor are looking for is literally industry-wide bargaining, giving the ACTU exactly what they want, taking away any form of flexibility from employers, and again, basic fundamental framework. Governments don't create jobs. Employers do.
So there is no
Businesses do.
There's no suggestion here that workers will cop a pay cut in that port dispute.
Svitzer have said they are not reducing salary or superannuation, which is currently set at 15%.
And finally, if we conclude where we began, this Job Summit is going to dominate a lot of attention. Yep. They've got employers, they've got unions, as you've said, but public sector.
Yep.
Shouldn't you be there at the very least if Peter Dutton denies the invitation?
Well, again, we talk to employers every day. We know what they need. That's been our role for the last 9 years. If Labor were serious, Labor were serious about actually acting on what employers want, introduce tomorrow Peter Dutton's pensioners policy to allow pensioners to work additional hours. There is a massive labour shortage in this country. We have a policy that Anthony Albanese could adopt tomorrow, but apparently he's got to talk to employers.
Michaelia Cash, appreciate your time.
Great to be with you.